Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. I sound like I'm underwater. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather right now. My voice is not going to be what it normally is, but great to have another show and to talk more about a lot of things happening around the NHL. I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams. Bill is, I still sound like there's a frog in my throat, but joined by the man from the hockey news, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Wow, Alex Ovechkin 4 goals away. We're close to witnessing history.
Can't wait to see that, especially coming up possibly against the Islanders. And from remote in Florida, the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Polkowski.
Yeah, it's nice down here. I wish the Lightning were playing. I would have been able to go to a game, but they are up in New York, funny enough, while I'm down here. Great timing on my part.
Yeah, that usually happened to me all the time, Phil. Whenever I was down in Arizona, like whenever the Rangers would be playing the Coyotes, they would usually be playing the Rangers in New York. So finally it worked out, and I was able to see a game there. Granted, it was at the old arena, and also granted, it was in the final year of the Coyotes' existence. Once again, everybody, make sure that you do subscribe, hit that like button, and let's get to the A block, which is going to be covering a lot of things. But first, just a reminder, with the A Block is sponsored by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, $20 off your first order, and Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. Click the link down below. The big news last night, and it continues to be more news every single time he does it, Alexander Ovechkin, 891st goal. He needs 4 to pass Wayne Gretzky for the most all time. Guys, is it just me, or does this not feel like it's a bigger story than what they're making it out to be? It just seems like it's not being talked about enough. Anthony, I'll start with you on your thoughts on this.
I mean, it's incredible. It's something that, it's a record that, across all sports, you think of certain records. I mean, there's DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak, and, hockey, you have, Wayne Gretzky's goal record, and, Ovechkin, the fact that he's on the precipice of breaking this is incredible. So, especially after he broke his leg, right? Like when he broke his leg, he was so hot, and everyone's like, he's going to miss a lot of time when he comes back. He might come back slow because he's older. You don't recover as fast as you do when you're young. But no, he came back, and he was still scoring goals in bunches, and now here we are. He's 4 goals away. So it's incredible. I mean, he's the guy's like a freak too, especially when you see what he eats. You see him photographed holding a bag of Cheetos in Subway, and he drinks Coca-Cola, and he's just this Russian machine that's just fueled on stuff that's not necessarily healthy for a professional athlete to eat. But here he is. He's a beast, and what he's doing at the age of, is he 40 yet, or is he still 39?
No, he's still 39. He turns 40 in September.
Okay.
September of 85.
What he's doing at his age is just incredible. And, I think, his team being good again, I think has fueled him even more. It made this even more exciting for him. But yeah, here we are, four games away, and, he could break it relatively soon. I mean, I know Phil predicted he breaks against the Islanders that last game of the season, but if he finds a way to score a goal tonight against the Hurricanes, he's 3 away. The game after that, he's playing the lowly Blackhawks. If he scores another goal, you're talking he would need 2 goals in that game against the Islanders on the 6th to break the record. So certainly not impossible. He could do it. He could do it on the 6th, but even if he doesn't, I think he's going to do it before this Islander game now, because being that he needs only 4 goals, I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6 games left before that game against the Islanders on the 15th. So I think he's going to do it beforehand. Whether he does it against the Islanders or the Blue Jackets when he plays them back to back, I don't know. I just know that it's going to be a special moment when he does it. I hope the league is going to make a big spectacle of it, which I'm sure they will. I know earlier in the year, I think Bettman said that once he got within 5, supposedly, Gretzky and Bettman were going to go to every game, in preparation for it. So, yeah, it's incredible. And like I said, the Capitals being one of the best teams in the league, I think that makes it even more special for him. So it's going to be must-see TV whenever it happens.
First, before I throw this down to Phil, my apologies to the listeners as well as Anthony, whom I stopped the camera to blow my nose real quick and forgot
and left the mute on, or left the audio on.
Yeah, so that was my mistake. Phil, going to you. How about with what Anthony said, it being like one of the biggest moments in NHL history?
I mean, it is. It's just the NHL for me is not doing enough. I was saying this to my cousin Colin and my cousin Sabrina last night. We were watching the Islander Lightning game because they're Lightning fans. So I was basically saying they're not doing enough to market this, and they need to do a lot more. It doesn't feel like it's been talked about enough across major sports platforms. I like that. Oh God, big allergy.
That actually is accurate. This is all allergies.
Yeah, but it's something that I think needs to have more attention paid to it. I mean, hopefully now that he's within 5, Gretzky and Bettman will be following him around, and it'll be a little more of a spectacle. There needs to be a lot of attention paid to this because we're not going to see something like this ever again. His points record is unbreakable. His assist record, no one's going to come close to his assist record. I mean, he's still the all-time leading scorer on assists alone, which is just crazy, 1,963. But it's ridiculous. So let's give this guy his flowers. Let's see the spectacle. Let's see the parade. The dog show and parade, whatever you want to call it. Bring it all out.
The dog shows up in that corner.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, we have bark apple hockey over there. So we have sniffle apple hockey, bark apple hockey, and then Jonu is saying, or Jonu, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. It's truly insane because this is one of the few records that nobody thought could be broken. Yeah. I never thought Alexander Ovechkin, when he first entered the league in 2005, would be breaking this record, never mind even challenging it. I never thought anybody would even approach it. If you would have told me that Alexander Ovechkin would have scored 700 goals, I would have been like, okay, fine. But, the guy's going to score 900 goals, and he's got years left on his contract. So are we talking about a chance at 1,000 here? I think that needs to be the discussion right afterwards is, can he break 1,000?
Well, he's only got one more year left on his deal which is next year.
Yeah, and he said that he wants to go to back to Dynamo Moscow.
Yeah, so I don't know about 1,000, but I mean, certainly 920, 930 is in the cards.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's a spectacle. It's something that should be paid a lot more attention to, and it's good for the game. I know that there's a lot of people that probably lament it because Russia is not very well liked right now because of a certain higher power there. But don't take this out on the players. It's not their fault. They're not doing anything to involve themselves in this. It's bad enough that we're banning Russian hockey players from international competition because of a war that they have nothing to do with. So
yeah. And I agree with that one totally, Phil. It's just, please, after everything that's happened over the last century, now we're gonna start flexing muscles like that. But that's just me. Look, that's my opinion. I mean, much worse happened during the Cold War. But I mean, Ovi right now, he's on the precipice of 40 goals, and if he puts up another 40-goal season next year, guys, 1,000 is within reach. And first up, by the way, Max Kellerman, he's a boxing analyst. How many people watch boxing? And over MMA. So let's not talk about that. But we're going to get to Anthony Duclair in a moment. But this is, Phil, you're right about this, because I don't think that they're building to this moment big enough. And there's been a moment that's been coming. We've seen it sort of on the horizon since about almost 2.5 years now. Now it's almost here. And I'm actually recalling back in 1994 that, do you remember there being a lot of press about Gretzky getting there? And is it the fact that it was inevitable? Was that there? Because I'll go into, you obviously know the trivia question, Phil, who had the 2 assists on the Wayne Gretzky goal?
Marty McSorley, and I believe Yari Curry was the other one.
That's the other one. McSorley to Curry to Gretzky. And also, it's going to lead me into another question. Well, but first, yeah, there's the NHL needs to do more on this one. That's just where I'm getting at with that. Going back also to something guest of our show, friend of our channel, Johnny Lazarus said yesterday on his program on the Daily Faceoff, that you wouldn't mind being the goalie that gives up the goal to break the record on that. First, Phil, I'll start with you. Who is the goalie Wayne Gretzky scored the record breaker goal on, and would you want to be that goalie?
Was it Kay Whitmore?
No.
Kirk McLean then? I knew it was Vancouver. I just wasn't sure if it was Whitmore or McLean.
I was sure you would have it on the first try, but would you want to be that goalie that lets in that goal?
Yeah, you're in history. It's not like it's not like you're letting up 3 shorthanded goals in the same power play and being known for that. I mean, it's historic. It is. Like, do you think McLean really minds being the guy to let up 802 to Gretzky? No, I don't think so. Guy was regarded as the greatest player of all time and the greatest goal scorer of all time until maybe Ovechkin came along. And, even if Ovechkin breaks the record, I think there are going to be some that are going to look back at Gretzky and be like, there's an argument for him still being the greatest, because, I mean, he did a lot of his damage up until about 1991. And then from 92 and forward, there was a big fall off. But that also kind of coincides with his back injury, from the Suter cross-check at the 91 Canada Cup. So it's, I think it's going to be okay to be the guy that lets up that goal.
Also, by the way, Kirk McLean didn't mind because 3 months later, he was in the Stanley Cup Finals at Madison Square Garden. Anthony, would you mind being that goalie that lets in this historic goal?
No, I mean, like Phil said, you're in the history books, so maybe not for what you envisioned when you were a kid, but you're still in the history books. And also, too, I mean, I don't really think it matters who the goalie is. I mean, let's say he breaks it against the Islanders on the 6th against Sorokin. I mean, the Islanders aren't making the playoffs, so if he scores a goal, like, what does it matter? Like, unless you're the goaltender that lets it up and it's like an overtime goal and prevents, let's say, the Blue Jackets from making it into the playoffs. Let's say he does it against Merzlikins and they needed a point to get in and they don't get that second point, then maybe he's pissed. But any other, just second period goal, I mean, what does it really matter? Like, you let up the record-breaking goal to one of the best goal scorers that we've ever seen. So I don't think any goalie is going to be like the guy that says, like, oh, I don't want to let it up. So that's just my take on it. But I just think it's an incredible accomplishment. And
that right there sums it up for me.
Yeah. And Wickett's kind of right about that one.
Yeah.
And look, goalies don't like to be scored on to begin with. I do go back to the guy that led up 756 to Barry Bonds. That was Mike Baksic, I think he pronounced it. Former New York Met, soft throwing lefty that did that. Nobody remembers him. And a lot of stuff like that. I think you're right about this one in one way, Anthony, because a lot of people don't remember the opponents in those situations. Nobody remembered who the Colts were playing when I think it was Manning to Stokely when he got touchdown number 49. That was back when the touchdown record meant something. Now it's like, all right, whatever. Can't even tell you who has it. I think it's Peyton Manning with 53, if I recall correctly. But now, you know what? If you're going to be part of history, just be part of history. But also, you'd like to be like Kirk McLean and be in the Stanley Cup Finals later in that year. Guys, moving on to the teams that are trying to get.
Well, hold on. First, before we get off Ovi, look, what are your new predictions? Like, when do you think he, being that he scored two goals, he scored goals in back-to-back games now. When do you think he breaks the record here? I mean,
you want an update?
Yeah.
Oh,
Does he score a goal tonight against Carolina, and then he lights up the Blackhawks for a hat trick? I mean, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts here? And before you answer that, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure he surpassed Howe against Peter Mrazek and the Blackhawks. If my memory serves me right.
You were correct.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
so
that was the one that I called.
That would be funny if he actually broke this record against the Blackhawks again, but again, for him to realistically do that, he needs to net a Hattie, and that's, of course, if he scores a goal tonight. So I'm going to start. I'm going to say he breaks it against the – I'm going to say he breaks it against the Hurricanes on April 10th, the game after the Islander game.
I'm going to go Saturday the 12th against Columbus. I think that – right now, you're asking for four goals over the next 5 games? That's possible. Next 5 games. I don't think he gets a goal against Carolina tonight. I think it's a lot to ask for goals on back-to. I mean, he's more than capable of doing it, but Carolina's a very good team, and they just played last night, so I wouldn't pencil him in for a goal tonight. I think he'll get at least one against Chicago. I think it's 1 against the Islanders, maybe 2. And then Carolina this upcoming or the next Thursday. I don't know if he scores in that game, but I could see him doing it against Columbus. I still kind of want to stick with my Islanders pick just because it would be funny, but I could see it as early as Saturday, April 12th against Columbus.
I'm glancing on this right now that.
Oh, and wouldn't that be something? Because he scored his first 2 NHL goals against Columbus.
Yes, he did.
And then not only that, but earlier on in the year, I think didn't he send a gift to Pascal Leclerc?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. The goalie that was who was the first the goalie in the net for the first 2 goals. So that would be very interesting to see him come basically full circle, scoring his first and a record breaker against Columbus.
Here's what's funny. Do you know what team he has scored over 100 points against? 51 of them goals. Carolina Hurricanes. He scored the second most amount of goals against them because that was 52 to the Philadelphia Flyers. So there is a little bit of the magic. I do agree with you, Phil. I think that's a little bit of a tough ask to try to go with. Looking at the schedule, though, it's going to be back-to-back nights. You got Carolina tonight after beating Boston last night. Home for the Blackhawks, then at the Islanders. But then he gets a 3-day break. My dream of him doing it in front of Crosby in Pittsburgh, I don't think is going to happen. You know what? The way the Islanders are playing and the way their defense is going, and by the way, we're going to get to them in a minute. I think he does it Sunday. I'm going to revise it. I'll say he does it Sunday. All right. You know what? He's going to tie it Sunday because I think one of these games is going to be a multi-goal game. I think he'll tie it. I don't think he'll get fully there. So
I see these comments. I hope he does it against the Islanders. I honestly hope he does it against Pittsburgh.
Yes.
That's really what I think. I think Bettman. I think Bettman has like the thought of that going on in his head is going to make him go from 6 to midnight. So, I mean, absolutely hope he does it against, because it would be really cool to see the game stopped, and then Crosby comes right out on the ice. There's Gretzky, Crosby, and Ovechkin all in one shot together.
Yes.
How friggin' cool would that be?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Like David's saying, I hope he does it against the Islanders. Like, I don't get what is there. What is? I don't know.
This is why.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if it's just because you're a Ranger fan, I'm like, I literally don't get that mentality.
No, he wants to be there for it, because Dave will go out of his way and he'll pay stupid money to go to that game.
No, honestly, I was thinking about doing the same thing, and now
if there's one person I know. Oh, and this too. Could you imagine he does it on a goalie that he's never scored against before to break the record? That'd be pretty interesting. Wonder if Mario would be there too. Okay. I mean, yeah. I don't know if he will be, just because he's not anywhere close to the record or anything like that. But I
think they're talking about the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. Oh. I mean, if it's against Pittsburgh, I'd imagine he'd be there. Oh my God. Have Gretzky, Lemieux, Ovechkin, and Crosby all in one photo together like that? You have Lemieux on the left or the right of Crosby, and then you have Gretzky and Lemieux arm in arm. Gretzky and Ovechkin arm in arm. That'd be something special, man. That'd be a cool shot to have. That'd be a picture that would go down forever in the history of the NHL.
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about going to the game against the Islanders to witness history. But the thing is, if he scores tonight and then he would score against Chicago, those tickets are going to skyrocket. As it is right now, I think they're around 150. So
that's what it was. Just put it in the chat before. I forget who put it.
So someone said, if he scores tonight against Carolina, that's going to go up even more. So it's going to be pricey to get in the building that night.
Yeah, like I said, 6 to midnight for Gary over there. Yeah, for standing room supposedly was what it said in the chat. I'd have to go up and find the comment again. I forget who it was from.
Well, guys, thanks for leading me into this. But
it was actually Dave. It was standing room tickets at UBS right now are $150, and that's standing room. Yeah, Anth, couldn't you go as press?
No, because my credentials aren't for the Islanders, and I don't have for the Capitals either. So the Islanders are very stingy on who they approve. So I don't think it would work, unfortunately.
That's true. Then again, Lou might also still hate you from like 3 years ago when you bashed his off-season lack of moves.
Yeah.
Actually,
you know what? I'm looking at StubHub right now. $94 is what I see right now. I don't know if that's with or without fees.
Anthony can't go because of Mark calling Big Lou. One of Anthony's legendary pranks turns out to work against him.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, you lead me into this, guys. There is a way to get $20 off if you're going to go to the game. Promo code Big Apple Hockey down below.
$20 off your first order.
$20 off your first order. But yeah, I think it is there's the magic of you want to see history. And if that's the case, Anthony, I don't think it's so much Ranger fans want to see it against them, but or against the Islanders, because I don't think it matters right now.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. Go right ahead. And yes, Phil, having a goalie that you never scored on, what Anthony brought up 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting storyline. I mean, I obviously think that the Pittsburgh game is. I mean, all right, so let's play a little game here. Let's do little rankings. What scenario, let's rank them from 1 to 3, 1 being the best. Which scenario is the best and which one is the worst? Ovechkin scoring his record-breaking goal against the franchise in which he knotted his first NHL goal against in Columbus. Ovechkin scoring his record-breaking goal against a goalie in which he's never scored on before, adding another notch to his belt.
A fellow Russian at that.
Too. Or Ovechkin scoring it against his legendary rival that he's been compared to for 20 years, to the top 2 generational talents of their generation, and possibly having one of the greatest goal scorers of all time in the building as the owner of the rival franchise that he's facing.
Hey, Phil, I think there's only one way to say that. Get the hoop.
See, I don't think it's a hoop.
No.
I think it's a hoop.
It wasn't a bar talk, Mark.
No, I know, but I'm saying get the hoop on this. This one's easy. This is you want Crosby and Ovechkin. They've been the storyline.
I did them as a rankings though.
Okay, well, number one is Crosby and Ovechkin, and a distant number 2.
Okay, so that's your 1. What's your 2?
Is Sorokin.
Sorokin. Okay, and your 3 is Columbus.
Columbus, yeah. Columbus would be a nice story a little bit, but it would also be a nail in their playoff coffin potentially.
Okay, Anthony.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with Mark completely. I think 1 is Columbus. I think 1, the game has playoff implications because the Blue Jackets are trying to make the playoffs. Ovechkin obviously scored his first 2 goals of his career against Columbus. So to break the record against that same team, I think is pretty cool. 2, I have Pittsburgh. I know much is made of Crosby versus Ovechkin, but Ovechkin breaking the goal record isn't anything to do individually against Crosby. It's just, they came up in the league together at the same time, but I don't think that is something that directly coordinates with Crosby. So that's why I have that at 2. And then 3, I have it the Islanders and a goalie that he's never scored upon.
Phil, what's yours?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh because of the spectacle, and I think there's going to be more mainstream coverage of it if you can involve the Crosby-Ovechkin rivalry. Mario Lemieux will be there, so that's another recognizable name for a lot of casuals. Gretzky will be there. To have all these guys in one setting together like that, it's definitely the biggest spectacle of them. For 2, I'm going to go Columbus just because I think that it would be really cool to see him score a record breaker against a team that he scored his first goal against. And 3, but definitely not any type of bad-mouthingness or anything like that, but having him score against Sorokin and putting another notch in his belt on a goalie that he scored on would be very, very cool too. So I just think that there's less of a spectacle with the Islanders just because there's not as much historical significance as the other 2 events would be.
Yeah.
All right. And again, fair enough. Let's move on, guys, to the Eastern Conference playoff chase, which is getting, I'm going to say, less interesting by the day in some ways in New York. No, a kid on that.
So bad.
Because the Montreal Canadiens tying the game with 8 seconds remaining against Florida Panthers, won in overtime last night. Then let's go with that the last week the New York Rangers went 1-1-1. I thought I called that. Maybe I texted you on that, Anthony, that they're probably go 1-1-1 the next week. But Friday they lost to Anaheim after leading by 2 with 5:50 remaining. And let's look at the last 10 games. Rangers 4-5-1, Islanders 4-3-1. If either one of them wants to make playoffs,
3-4-3.
What? Sorry,
3-4-3.
3-4-3. Yeah, I said the wrong one, but I had the right graphic up. And then, then the Eastern Conference wildcard standings. There they are right now. Rangers hanging by a thread. They have a 1 extra game played on Columbus, and at 77 points, Montreal is in wild card 2. Islanders barely holding on with 74 points, and Detroit with 75. Phil, I'll start with you on this one. And by the way, the Islanders winless since their OT win against Montreal. Can the Rangers still make it? And is this week the last gasp for the Islanders?
The Rangers are only 2 points out. I mean, Montreal has a game in hand to them, but the Rangers have got they got to keep winning. Now you have to string more than 3 wins together in a row for the first time since November now.
Keep winning.
Yeah. They have to keep winning. Like there can't be any losses. There can't be any plays where there are games where they don't show up until the second period and they have 5 shots in one period, somehow gain a lead and then blow a lead later in the game again. Like this stuff can't happen. So if they're going to do it, it has to be now. And the Islanders, I don't know if they can lose any more games. I really don't. I mean, it's gotten to a point. I get it. I literally just put this comment up. They're literally playing the Hop a Bomb mini game from Mario Party 1 where they toss the bomb away before it explodes. And that's literally what this playoff chase has been. But if you are the Islanders, you cannot lose any more games. You are so far behind right now that it's not even funny. You are 5 points behind. 5 points behind. What was that face for, Mark?
I just burped in the mic.
I didn't hear it.
I am just a absolute treasure trove of sounds today. Sorry, boys.
No, it's okay. You're all right. But yeah, it's. I don't know if they can lose another game. I really don't. Like you are 5 points behind, and you have 4 teams to leapfrog to get there? Columbus, Montreal, Rangers, Canadiens. I mean, how are you doing that? How are you doing that if you lose another game? The Rangers' schedule is super tough too. Super, super tough. So it's look at that. Minnesota, not an easy game. New Jersey, not an easy game. Tampa Bay, not an easy game. Philadelphia. And they have another game against Tampa Bay at the very end of the season, the last game of the year. So, I mean, I don't know. Bodily function apple hockey. Oh man. But yeah, it's I don't know how they can do it because I just don't. And this is a great storyline. I mean, we saw Ryan Leonard last night in Washington. Now we're going to get to see Gabriel Perreault tonight. He's playing on a line with JT Miller and Alexis Lafrenière. More on that to come later on. But yes, the Rangers are more likely to get in than the Islanders, but the Rangers have also played dog shit hockey over the last month. Dog shit. Complete dog shit. So it's I don't know how they make it. And the Islanders, I just think there's too much of a deficit now at this point because although these teams have been just like trading off losses and having nights where they're just continue to lose games, Montreal is finding ways to win games now. The Islanders are finding ways to lose games. The Rangers are finding ways to lose games. Columbus is finding ways to lose games. I mean, yeah, the game against the Ducks just summarized the season from December on, really. So it's just not enough heart, not enough grit, not enough effort, not enough will and desire to get it. So I don't think the Rangers make it. I don't think the Islanders make it either.
Anthony, you did say the same thing, and you said it as early as February that neither team is going to make it.
I did.
So, yeah, it's looking like that's going to happen. Here are your playoff odds, by the way. Montreal, a 50% chance, and the Rangers, a 26%. Is this the last gasp for the Islanders, and can the Rangers still make it?
I mean, Mark, these questions, if it's bar talk, it's get the layup. I mean, of course the Rangers could still make it. They're 2 points out. Last gasp for the Islanders, absolutely. They're 5 points out. Like, how do you want me to answer these other than give you rational answers? I
still don't think the Rangers can make it. As stupid as that might sound, you might go, "Oh, it's only 2 points."
The Rangers aren't making it either. I mean, look at the Canadiens' next 4 games. You have a Nashville team that just got their wheels blown off by Columbus. They play the Predators, they play the Flyers, they play the Bruins, and they play another heinous team. If you can remind me who it is, but Detroit. So like I don't know. I think Montreal has the leg up to get in. I mean, they're young, they're hungry. A lot of these guys, other than that bubble year, haven't really played playoff hockey. So I think they're going to end up getting in. I do. I think the Rangers are going to fall short. They've just been too up and down this year. Their last 3 games of the season are against Tampa, Florida, and Carolina. I don't know if it's in that order, but those are really, really tough teams. So, and then as far as the Islanders, yeah, I mean, the Islanders, as Phil said, they would basically have to win out. I mean, last year they went 8-0-1 in their last 9, and they got in. Do they have a run like that in them again? I mean, I'm going to say no. So yeah, I think the Islanders, while not mathematically, they're obviously, I think they're dead in the water. I think Detroit, they picked up a point in OT, a loss. They're dead in the water. And then really it comes down to Columbus, the Rangers, and the Canadiens. And I just think the Canadiens are going to hold on and get that last spot. So, at this point for the Rangers, I think you just want to see Gabe Perreault and how he looks, and get an extended look at him for the rest of the year and kind of get a better gauge of where he is in his development. And then, hopefully some of these other guys like Lafrenière can get going, and maybe you build on some good feelings going into next season. But yeah, I think both these teams are going to be teeing off come, I don't know what, April 16th or whenever the season ends. And then the Canadiens are going to take on the Capitals in round 1. And who knows? Remember when Halak turned into God that year against the Caps, and they with that huge upset? Maybe the Canadiens have that in them again. But I think they're going to get in. And at the end of the day, when the Rangers and Islanders reflect on their seasons, for the Islanders, it's going to be a lot of, certainly didn't defend it to their ability. And then, you could point to the injuries to Barzal and their defense being banged up pretty much the whole year. And the Rangers will look back and say, maybe we shouldn't have given up in November or December, and they wouldn't be in the situation they were in. But, and then look forward to next year. Cause the one thing I will say, if both these teams miss, they can at least be somewhat hopeful to look at what the Capitals did. Last year, the Capitals they made the playoffs, but they looked like they were about to jump off a cliff this season, and their GM made some shrewd moves, and look at them this year. So even though these teams may not make the playoffs, I think there is hope for both of them to be good again with the right moves, depending on what they are. But as for this year, I think the Canadiens are getting that last spot.
It's amazing when we talked about teams in playoff contention, and I was putting in the Boston Bruins.
So did I at one point, yeah.
Yeah, in playoff contention. Do you know that the Bruins are in dead last of the Eastern Conference right now?
Just crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Easy how a month just changed everything. 1-8-1 in their last 10. This is, as far as the Islanders go, they had a shot at getting in. Yes, they had the disallowed goal and they got screwed. Or maybe they didn't, depending on your point of view. But after that, the Islanders have not been able to put anything together whatsoever. And we're going to get to a soundbite in a minute from Patrick Waugh. But it's one of those things you have to figure out and how to press on. And I give all the Islanders all the credit in being involved in this race. For the Rangers, it's like you're waiting for the white knight to show up. And the funny thing is he did. It was JT Miller. And the Rangers still are lifeless, dead in the water, and not doing anything. It'd be nice if maybe, I don't know, somebody could put the team on their back that's making $11.5 million next year. Oh, that's unfair. Don't ask for the money. That's my reply. The Rangers are dead in the water. By the time we're doing this podcast on next Wednesday, the Rangers will be basically eliminated in reason, if not mathematically, because Montreal, I think, is going to rattle off 3-0-1. They got momentum on their side right now. They got a favorable schedule. They've got to go 2-2. I don't see the Rangers going 2-2 in their next 4. So I guess we'll see about that one. But guys, I alluded to this a second ago about Patrick Waugh's just absolute shredding of one of his players. And here's the soundbite.
Duclair played only a little over 12 minutes.
He was god awful. He had a bad game. That's why I didn't play him a lot. And he's lucky to be in the lineup. Sorry if I lose it on him right now, but that's how I feel.
Just what are you seeing that he's not doing?
He's not skating. He's not competing. He's not moving his feet. He's not playing up to what we expect from him.
Do you feel like that's an effort thing?
I think it's an effort thing.
Just wow on that one, guys. I still can't help but go back. And I can't believe that he kind of came out with that. Anthony, I know it's fair for him to make that criticism, but should he have said it like that?
You cut. I don't know what happened. You cut out there.
Okay.
No, I heard him.
You did?
Yeah,
I didn't
heard
hear. Maybe it was me then. I heard the beginning of it and then kind of froze and then.
My bad on that one. My internet kept going in and out on this hand. But do you think it was fair that while kind of not the validity of the statement, but I mean, should he have said it like that?
I mean, it's a guy that's wearing his emotions on his sleeve, like Anthony Duclair is a guy that's supposed to be a big part of their offense. And, so for him to, you know what, it is. Look at it this way, Mark. He had 3 points in his first 5 games before he did whatever he did to his groin. Obviously, we won't know because Lou doesn't release the injuries. But and he has 11 points. So since he came back, he's only had 8 points since he's been back. Three of those 11 came in the first 5 games before he got hurt. He hasn't. He's been nothing since he returned. And yes, listen, I'm sure part of that is his groin injury. For a guy who relies on his straightaway speed to his game, a groin injury can be really detrimental. So, is he 100%? I would imagine no. At the end of the year, where they all have their end of year availability, I guarantee he'll probably say that it's still a lingering injury that he has. But still though, I think the effort also hasn't been there. Is that because he knows he's not 100%, so he's not giving it all because he doesn't want to injure it again? Maybe, but if that's the case, you should sit him down because the season's lost anyway. But so no, I don't blame Wah. He wants to get more out of him, and he hasn't. And he's calling out a player, like I said, that's relied upon to be a guy that produces a lot of offense. So, oftentimes you hear coaches blame for not calling players out and giving players a pass. I don't mind that Wah sent a message. I don't. He's had harsh words about Pierre Engvall in the past, so he's not a guy that's going to mince any words. And I don't blame him for saying that. Maybe it kicks Duclair in the ass. I don't know, but it was surprising to hear for sure. I didn't think we'd get that kind of comment from him, but like I said, he's frustrated. So the result is what you saw.
I just wonder what result you're going to get out of him at this point, but I digress. Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, he's speaking the truth. What else is there really to say about it? I mean, he's just kind of just there. I don't see the efforts from him. He didn't look good last night at all. The way he's played this year has made me wonder what the hell Lou was thinking signing him to his contract. So I don't understand, why he needed to, give him this contract if this is what he was going to get. Like, I get he's probably not at 100%. But knowing what we know about him, he's never been a guy that's really given it his all on defense. He's not somebody who competes very, very hard. He's gotten by on speed and some skill and some talent for a while now. And this is kind of what he is. Like, we're well past the point. He's 10 years into his career, made his debut in the 14-15 season with the Rangers. Like, this is not a spring chicken anymore. This is not a guy that's young. We know what we know about him, and that's really it. So, for me, you know what? So I kind of agree with what Johnny Red said before, that players are pampered too much these days and need to be put in their place. You don't get the efforts from these guys, and then when they do get, called out like the Rangers players did. They cry and they quit. And you know what? Back in the day, you didn't have this. Like in '94, when look at Keenan. Messier was the bridge to Keenan, but they rallied around Messier with the heave ho slogan, and they rallied against Keenan, and they ended up winning. Those guys, they weren't happy. You think Leach and Richter and Healy were happy with Keenan? No. Monty hated Keenan's guts. Same with Gartner. But they kept playing through it. They dealt with it, and they did what they did. And Gartner actually was having a good year before he was dealt, considering his reduction in role and ice time and everything. So, yeah, I think that, sometimes this needs to happen. Sometimes these players need to be put in check. And this is what Patrick Roy did, and good on Patrick Roy. And when you want to talk about whether or not he's on the hot seat, whether his job's on the line or whatnot, who knows? But I think it was good that Patrick Roy did this, because Anthony Duclair just looked like he was skating laps out there last night. Remember how we used to talk about Brett Howden, how he was Mr. Cardio, and how he was just going out there for leisure skates? That was Duclair last night.
Right about that, Phil. And like I said, I just don't know the productivity of what's going to happen, but that's a perspective always to go with on that one. Anthony, by the way, one of the best stories of Glenn Healy was when he went in to go talk to Mike Keenan, and Mike Keenan said, "So what's the difference between me and Al Arbour?" And Glenn Healy just looks over and says, 4 Stanley Cups. Get out. And it was just like that. Also, a bit of a sad story going on, and we're going to get Phil's opinion when he gets back on in. But Vancouver Canucks are shutting down former Ranger Filip Chytil for the rest of the year with concussion-like symptoms. Phil, you tweeted about this last night, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
When is enough enough? When do they finally just say no more? That's really the question. It was a big part of why I was okay with him going in the JT Miller trade, and a lot of people were not happy that Filipino went. But this was the sad reality of Filipino going. We thought last year may have been the last time. To have that many concussions in that short of a span it's not healthy. I mean, we talk about CTE these days, and you look back at Chris Benoit and Derek Bugard and Rick Rippin and other guys who have were diagnosed with CTE and ended up passing away. Wade Belak, another one. At what point do they start to think about the quality of life after hockey for this kid? Because he's way too young to have this many concussions, and it just seems like no matter what he does, he just can't handle the physicality of the NHL. Does he need to go to a KHL or a Swiss league or a Czech league in order to further his hockey career? Probably. Could this be another situation where it's like Sidney Crosby, where they find out it's a neck issue, because neck issues can give off concussion-like symptoms, and that was the thing with Sidney Crosby. Everybody thought it was concussions, but it was a neck issue with Crosby, and once they fixed that, he was fine. But that's the thing, really. He's just too young for this. I don't know if he could die on the ice necessarily, but there is a very good chance that he develops CTE at this point if he continues pushing it and has more incidents. It's like LaFontaine and others that have had Lindros. When is the next one going to completely end him? That's what you have to wonder at this point.
Yeah, because you think about guys like, say, Michael Sauer, who's both of his brothers retired because of concussions, and he really only had the one major one. Anthony leading it with you, Brett Lindros, and then obviously his brother Eric, who had to retire. He had concussion problems later. But he's got to call it a career, right, Anthony?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what the doctors are telling him. We don't know. Like, I'm sure if he was told by his doctors that, they recommend maybe hanging him up, maybe he would consider it. But we don't know if it's at that point. Maybe doctors haven't told him it's not there yet. So, who really knows? It's tough to say. And there was an article written in The Athletic a while back. It was about concussions, and it had comments from guys who dealt with it, like LaFontaine was one of the players, and they just talk about how difficult it is to make that decision to hang him up after you work your whole life to play in the NHL, and then you get there, and then you're faced with the reality that you have these head issues, and you have to make a tough decision, for your life. So, Chytil, again, he's clearly concussion prone. I hope for him it's not at that stage yet. Maybe it is. We'll really never know until, either he announces a retirement or he doesn't and he's back next year. And that will tell you that, maybe it didn't get to that point. So, hopefully for him, best case scenario is that he could still keep playing and that he's not in any danger of having an effect his life going forward. But you have to imagine it's at least close to that if it's not all the way there, if it's not already there. So, I guess we'll see, how he responds, in the off season and training. If, once he starts ramping up this summer to play next year, and if he gets no symptoms and he's able to do that without any side effects, then I'm sure he'll be back. But I guess it also depends on what his doctors tell him, right? If his doctors tell him, no, you're good, then I would imagine he's going to come back. The only way he won't is if they recommend to him, hey, listen, you're one hit away from, things severely affecting you outside of hockey. Then maybe at that point you retire. But again, whether or not those discussions have taken place or he's received that advice, we won't know. So, it certainly doesn't look good. I just hope for his sake that he can continue doing what he loves doing. And, but that's a tough decision for a player to make. So we'll have to see what transpires over the summer.
You're right on that, Anthony. And you gotta let's let it play out a little bit. But I also don't want it to be like not another teen movie where it's like concussions Billy Bob has left and they have the sign up about it. You want to get it before it becomes a real issue, and this is something that could affect the rest of his life. So you just think about his own safety on that. All right, guys, you stayed with us actually through all the sounds that I've been making into the microphone the entire time. Thank you very much. Let's get a message from DraftKings and then do some bar talk. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So confident that you're buying around, so I'll have a beer. Oh, dear God, I need a shot. Play along down in the comments below, everybody. And let's start right away. Fewer backwards today. I got help. Let's start today with a guy making his NHL debut, Gabe Perreault. Skating with JT.
What? Mark. Mark.
I had the name right.
Oh, you did not. You have the name right in there, but what is that? Come on.
Gabriel Perreault. Oh my.
We haven't had a bad one in a while.
That's the new Justin Huberdeau right there.
Justin Huberdeau.
Oh man.
All right.
Oh my God.
All right. This is the reason why I was an actor at one point, because at least I had extra takes. It's hard to do it when you're live. All right, guys. Let's try that one again. Gabriel Perreault is making his NHL debut tonight, and he's been skating with JT Miller and Alexei Lafrenière. Rangers putting Gabe Perreault on the line.
Oh my God, Mark! Jesus.
Anyway, think of putting Gabriel Perreault on a line with Miller and Lafrenière is the right move. Silk.
I'm gonna try to compose myself here.
Oh,
I blame the sickness.
Yeah, I would say this is the right move. Yeah, he's playing on a line with Alexis Lafrenière and Keandre Miller. Oh man, I'm gonna say round. I think this is the right move. I don't want him near Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider right now. I think they need a guy like Will Cooley with them, and I don't want him near Artemi Panarin, who doesn't seem to want to play defense. Let Benadryl apple hockey. Breaking Mark Williams has been down to small apple hockey for a conditioning stint. Oh my God! But yeah, it's the right move. I want him on a line with a guy that's gonna show some spine, some leadership. He drags the guys into the fight. I think Lafreniere's looked better with Miller recently. I mean, that line with him, Cooley, and Miller were just awesome together. And now you put Perreault there, and Perreault's a much better playmaker, much better hands, a smarter player. I get the concern about the speed of the game. And yes, you're going from the NCAA straight into the NHL. So there is going to be an adjustment here. But at least they're sheltering him with the right guys around him. It could have been worse, and they could have had him with two of the worst 5-on-5 players in the league in Zibanejad and Kreider. And boy, that would not have worked out well. So I do like this line. I like the lines overall in general. It looks like Laviolette did something right with the forward lines for once.
Oh, almost too little too late. Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's a round. You don't put a guy like Perreault into the lineup and then put him like on the fourth line. You need to put a guy like him in position to succeed and play his game, and that's being a top 6 player. So they did the right thing there. And yeah, you want to keep him away from Kreider. You want to keep him away from Zibanejad for sure. So I think Laviolette pushed the right buttons here. And you saw, Ryan Leonard last night with the Capitals. He played with some big boys there in the Caps lineup. They didn't, bury him on a fourth line. So, and that's the right way to treat players like this. You got to put them in situations where they're used to playing and, to see if they can handle the rigors of an NHL game. So yeah, hopefully, for the Rangers' sake, he can kind of get, acclimated quickly and, and feel it out there and hopefully show the team that, he's going to be the player that everyone thought he would be. So the right move on Laviolette here.
Let's make it a hat trick, guys, because Gabriel Perreault, he's a playmaker that could be really good with Kreider and Zibanejad, but no, he's better. He's better than Johnny Brzezinski. Put him on that line that really kind of needs a third guy on it to finish and maybe get some life back into Alexei Lafrenière, who is far down from what he has been last year. And even if you want to say in one way, the last 2 seasons, or even from all the way back in October, Alexei Lafrenière looked like he was going to be something great. And right now it looks like he's stealing money from the New York Rangers. So we'll see how that ends. Anthony, the Islanders are 19th in the league in goals against with 229. They're 11th in most games of 4+ goals given up. The Islanders need to overhaul their defense core.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll say round. I think you certainly have some pieces like Alexander Romanov took huge strides this year. I think he was one of the most consistent and one of their better defensemen all year. He'll be back. He's an RFA. He's going to get a nice little raise. And then obviously, for all his defensive deficiencies, Noah Dobson still is a very good defenseman. They're likely going to re-sign him too. But from there, they need to make moves. I think I said it a while ago. I think one of Adam Pelech or Ryan Pulock are going to be moved in the offseason. I lean more towards Pelech because Ryan Pulock has a full no trade clause, whereas Adam Pelech has a modified 16 team. So I think he'll be easier to trade. Also, too, Ryan Pulock's wife is from Long Island, so I think just as it is, I don't see him wanting to move. So I think Pelech would be the guy to go, but I think one of them need to go. And they just need to get faster on the back end. I do like what I've seen from Tony DeAngelo. I have no issues with him being brought back, on a cheap deal too. So, that's Romanov, DeAngelo, Dobson start. But from there, they need to change up their look on defense. Also won't mind because Adam Boquist is still only 24 years old, high draft pick, and I thought he's looked good too. So I don't see any harm in bringing him back in, some capacity. But I think they need to change it up on the back end, and it starts with moving one of Pelech or Pulock. And again, I between them, I say Pelech goes, but I think one of them absolutely has to go. They need to get faster back there and, change the way they play.
So is that a round?
I said round, yeah.
It is a round. I forgot if I put that up.
Yeah.
Phil?
I'm going to go round. I think that it's time to move away from this. I think that the numbers have gotten worse each year, and I think the guys that they're relying on to be their big shutdown guys are getting worse each year because their health is just not great. Pelech is hurt every year. He's very good when he's in the lineup, but he's hurt every year, and he misses significant time. It's maybe time where they deal him to another team where he could play a reduced role and still play his game, and he's not counted on nearly as much. But I will say this: I don't know if that actually happens. I say round because it needs to happen. Whether or not it actually happens is a completely different story. Because Anthony is talking about keeping basically almost everybody. Like you talked about keeping basically 5 of the guys. You're not going to move Dobson, so you're getting rid of one of Pelech or Pulock, which is just one guy. And then you're talking about keeping Boquist too. He's looked okay. I don't think he's been great. I think if you move on from him, really, where's the loss there? Tony DeAngelo, I get you want to keep maybe because of not having enough puck movers in the lineup outside of Dobson, but he's another one that's just awful defensively. He's terrible in his own zone. And I mean, as Ranger fans, we've seen this. Carolina fans have seen this. Flyer fans have seen this. Arizona Coyotes fans have seen this. This guy has not improved defensively in his 7 years being in the league. So he is what he is defensively at this point. I mean, yeah, he might score some points for you, but is he really that 50, 60 point defenseman anymore? Like I don't know if I see this anymore there. So you have to come down to what is he a net negative? Is he an even? Is he a positive? I don't know. I mean, I get that people like the puck moving ability, but that's just someone that you don't know what you're going to get defensively night to night. And you could get a complete unmitigated dumpster fire on one night, and then you can get a guy that's okay, passable, on another night, and he puts up some points. But if he's not putting up points, he ain't helping you at all. So I think they need to. Whether or not they do is another story.
I am actually going to go beer on this one, guys. And the only reason why is I still question the coach. Like, I just don't see what the defensive system is. They haven't really improved much in that category. And you got Ilya Sorokin, who is one of the better goaltenders in the league, and his numbers are going down. Why is it nobody complains about like the defense in front of him when comparing, but they'll complain about the defense in front of Shesterkin like it's so bad that they're similar in goals against numbers. And Sorokin's still putting up comparable to better numbers. I think a different coach might get a better defensive system in there that would help. And maybe you don't need an overhaul, but also I think I could see Noah Dobson potentially getting moved. Anthony's talked about that a lot, or even like I said before, Adam Pelech getting moved, even though Adam Pelech is sort of like the Brock Nelson of the back end. Lou would, I think, rather gnaw off his arm in order to do that. But again, those are tough questions a GM like Lou has to ask himself every single year. And let's talk about a different Boston College forward, since we're talking about Gabriel Perreault before. But Washington Capitals signed Ryan Leonard. He made his debut last night, and that was a great hit that he threw in center ice. Ryan Leonard will be a legitimate top 6 forward as soon as next year. Mr. LaRocco, jump right in there.
What do you mean legitimate? Like, just he's going to play in the Capitals top 6, or he's going to actually
20 goal scorer, something like that?
Yeah, I can get on board with that. Then I'll say round. I mean, I really like his game. He plays a heavy game. He's not afraid to muck it up. He's good around the net. He's got a good shot. His hands are good. I think that the Capitals hit a home run with this player. So I think he's going to be a fixture in their top 6 for a long time. They, just like Ranger fans, are very excited for Gabriel Perreault. The Caps fans are ecstatic that he's there. So I think, for a team that was getting a little older, he's a nice little young piece to add to that mix. And, I think for Capital fans, he's going to be around for the next, hopefully for their sake, 10 years. But yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a very good player in this league.
Phil?
I was teetering between beer and round, but I think I'm going to go round. I just think there's an opportunity for him there. And I look at next year, and you look at McMichael. So the top guys on their team are McMichael, Strome, Ovechkin, Protas. Tom Wilson. There is a spot for him. And that's really what it comes down to for me. And this team, I think there's going to be some regression with some of these guys. Like, they're very high up in PDO. So it shows you that there's a level of puck luck that's going on with this team. You got to wonder about Ovechkin too. He's going to be 40 at the start of next season. He's a September 85 birthday. So you got to wonder if he's going to be able to continue to do this. Like, he's over a point per game and almost at 40 goals in 58 games even with breaking his leg. So, does his play carry over? And that's the big thing, because if his play doesn't carry over, you're going to see what we saw last year from the Capitals. You're going to see a team that struggles to score. Pierre-Luc Dubois, the top of the Ebola list for Mark over there, 63 points that's in 74 games. Like, he's pacing for career high numbers. Tom Wilson, 32 goals, 61 points, career high numbers. Connor McMichael, 25. And a lot of the things that I'm looking at with these guys, their top 6 scorers, their shooting percentages are all 14.5 or better. Dylan Strome, 18.5. Protas, 21.6. Ovechkin, 17.8, which is a career high for him. 14.6 for Dubois. So he's the lowest on the totem pole. Tom Wilson, 20.5. McMichael, 15.6. There's a lot of regression to go around next year with this team. So for me, Ryan Leonard getting a shot next year, it's not completely unlikely.
I love me some Ryan Leonard. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to make this a hat trick, guys, because I think he's just going to play hard. He's got a great motor, and he's really going to just make the Capitals throw him on the ice more and more. Loved him in his draft year, and obviously loved what you saw with him and Perreault at Boston College. I actually stopped for a second because I thought I accidentally said Pajot. Wait a minute, I did say it right. But he's going to be a player that I'm going to hate watching play against the New York Rangers and all of our New York teams.
Absolutely.
He's just going to be a terror. Guys, let's go to the Atlantic. Possibly, I'd say the Central is Murderer's Row. This would be right after that. You have the Toronto Maple Leafs with 94 points, Tampa Bay Lightning at 93, and the Florida Panthers at 92. Phil, the Lightning, are the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference right now?
Oh, with the Montreal Canadiens going 4-0 against the Florida Panthers this year for whatever reason, Florida not having Matthew Tkachuk at this very moment. They just got Brad Marchand back recently. I would have to say, yeah, the Lightning are playing. And I said it last night. I said it last night to my cousins. I was like, listen, like, you're looking at dark horse teams. Lightning are probably right at the top of the list right now. They're playing playoff type hockey. A good portion of their guys were there for those championship teams. You're looking at Cirelli. You're looking at Point, Kucherov, Hedman, Chernak, Vasilevsky, McDonough, all there for those two Stanley Cups. So they have the guys that know how to win and know what it takes to win, and have very recent memory of it. So I'm gonna go around on this. I think they're going to be a tough out for whoever they play. I could definitely see them winning a first round series. If it's against Florida and they get Tkachuk back for the playoffs, I definitely think that it's going to be a tougher series than it was previously. I think the Lightning could take them and possibly even beat Florida, because I don't like the way Bobrovsky's playing lately, and maybe he's just another one that picks his game up come playoff time, but he has not looked good. That defense has not looked good, and honestly, Seth Jones, I thought he'd look better defensively in Florida. He doesn't look any better defensively than he did in Chicago. I mean, he's putting up points, but it's just defense doesn't seem like it's there.
Anthony?
I'm gonna go round. I think the additions of Bjorkstrand and getting Gord back too were phenomenal moves by Brisebois. That adds to their depth, and then most importantly for me, Andre Vasilevsky, after having a down year where he had a save percentage of just 900 even last year, he's at 922. Do you know the last time? You know what happened the last time Vasilevsky had a save percentage that was 920 or higher?
They won the Stanley Cup.
They won the Stanley Cup. He's back to playing on his game, and that's a scary thing for a lot of teams. So with him back to the level that he's capable of playing, and with the weapons they have in Point, Kucherov, Hagel, I think this team right now, they're rolling. I think they're complete. They're deep, and I think they have as good a chance as anybody, Florida or maybe even, depending on how you feel about Washington, to come out of the East. So for me right now, I think that they're playing some of their best hockey at the right time, and it wouldn't surprise me if they went back to the finals.
Yeah, I'm going to say round. I was trying to sell myself and say, knock off the Stanley Cup champion. But really, the Lightning are just firing on all cylinders, and you can't say enough about them. I got to talk quickly about this team in the Atlantic, who's also very dangerous, because when they're mathematically eliminated, the Buffalo Sabres, Willie's right about this one right here. Buffalo Sabres are the best team in hockey. Make you go, this team's going to make a jump next year. Except they never make that jump.
Such a tease.
They never do that. They never, ever, ever do that. All right, let's go to the Western Conference real quick. And we got the St. Louis Blues, who have won 10 in a row. And they now sit at wildcard 1, 89 points. Minnesota, 88. Calgary, 82. Vancouver, 81. Anthony, St. Louis will carry the momentum into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they still got six games left. So, I mean, yeah, they've won 10 in a row or 9 in a row. So clearly, right now, yeah, they're just torrid pace right now. But it's tough to say because if they, let's say, lose their next 2 games, then like I said, the playoffs. It's not like if the last game of the season was today, the playoffs started in couple days from now, I would say this is an easy round. but they still have to play 6 games before that. So, if they, let's say, all of a sudden go, 2-3-1 over those 6 games, then that changes everything completely. So just because there's 6 games left here, I'm going to say beer. But yeah, certainly right now they're the hottest team in the National Hockey League. They're just carried to themselves to a point where they were a bubble team to now where they're wild card 1. So good on them. So phenomenal run, but I'm gonna have to say beer just because there are still 6 games left, and you don't know what can transpire in those next 6 games.
Phil,
Man, that's tough to ask. It really is. They're playing well. It seems like they believe they have a good coach. It's it's a lot to ask for that type of time period. But the one thing I will say is that we have seen this team do it before. They've done it before, and with that, it's not entirely impossible, but there's a lot to ask for a team to continue this type of play for that strength, that length of time. It's where are we at? 10 games now. Their win streak.
yes.
Yeah, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10 games. And then they've won 12 of their last 15, which is unbelievable. But you're looking at Pittsburgh on tomorrow night, Colorado Saturday, Monday Winnipeg, Wednesday Edmonton, Saturday Seattle, 12th of Saturday Seattle, and then Tuesday the 15th, the last game against Utah. So their schedule isn't exactly murderer's row. They've got 3 games where you'd say they might be tough games, depending on if Connor McDavid's back by that Wednesday, April 9th game. And then you got 3 other games where you expect them to get wins out of it. So one thing I will say is that heading into the playoffs, you want to be playing playoff type hockey. Like you want to be playing games that are meaningful. You want to be doing the right things, playing the right way, playing smart, disciplined hockey. St. Louis is doing that right now. They are really doing that. And it's definitely good to see that for St. Louis. Who steps up here? Who's their guy? Is Robert Thomas going to be the Selke caliber player that they need him to be down the stretch? Is it Jordan Kyrou that comes through and just goes on an absolute tear? Robert Thomas looks like he's going to finish with a point per game. They've got good players. They really do. I just wonder how sustainable this is for a team that lacks overall scoring depth. You have 360 point scorers, and then there's drop-offs to 48 points after that. And then Jake Neighbors, for a guy that's in his first full year or second year. Oh no, he's in his 3rd full season. Sorry. At that point, yeah, you're going to need other guys to step up. So I wonder about their depth, really being able to help them out going forward.
I got to agree with Anthony. I think this is too far of a gap between now and the playoffs. And yes, they get Pittsburgh, so it's going to be 11 straight. Let's be honest about that one, guys. It's going to be 11 straight. So then you have Colorado, who's kind of hit a little bit of a soft spot, 6-2-2 in their last 10. And they're now 8 points behind Dallas. But then they get Winnipeg, who, again, they've had some issues as of recently. And then you got the Oilers and the Kraken before closing it out against the Utah Hockey Club on the 15th. And they actually closed out their season early. A lot of people are closing out their season on the 17th. It's just 2 weeks. It's too long. So I'm gonna have to go with beer on it because that's a lot to carry all the way there. And 2 weeks from now, that momentum. If this was next week, this is a better question. Unfortunately, it's this week, and it's just an okay one. Because we have to talk about them winning 10 in a row. You got to talk about the team that's the hottest one in the league. And guys, lastly, for the last Bar Talk conversation, let's go back to the standings. You can see the gap between Minnesota and Calgary and Vancouver. The Western Conference playoff race is over. Phil?
I don't want to say it's technically over, because it's really not. But I get why people would think that. I mean, it's a 6-point differential. Calgary does have a game in hand on Minnesota. I don't trust Calgary. I don't trust Vancouver enough either. And Utah, another 80-point season for them. And they're improving points-wise, but they're likely going to fall just short. So beer, just because it's technically not yet, but yeah, I can't see Calgary or Vancouver unseating either one of those two teams, especially not St. Louis. Even though St. Louis is only 7 ahead of Calgary, they're just playing too good of hockey right now to really lose that. If they lost that, that would be a choke job that we'd be talking about for a while. So I will I'm gonna say beer.
Anthony?
Muted, Anthony.
Yeah, obviously it's not over, but I mean, like Calgary's 6 points out with a game in hand, Vancouver's 7 out with a game in hand. Those are hard numbers to overcome when there's only 7 games left or 8 games left. Especially as it is, I like Minnesota better than both those teams. So from the net out, really. So yeah, it's not technically over, but I'm still going to say round. I just don't see Minnesota falling off that bad where either Calgary or Vancouver pass them.
Yeah, actually, I did think of one more question to throw in there, guys. But yeah, I'm going to say it's over. Draw the line, guys. This is, I get that. There you go. You can say that there's games to be played. So what? Put all the teams in. Minnesota's basically been on cruise control since February because they knew they were going to make it, and they were without Kirill Kaprizov, and they still had some injuries to deal with. But this case, no, that's Calgary really needed a win last night against Utah. I know Utah needed that game too. We'll see if Anaheim can beat Calgary come tomorrow night, and then maybe that'll kind of really put the screws to Calgary to see whether or not they can make it. There's too much turmoil in Vancouver. I can't see Vancouver making it. 2 weeks ago, it looked like there was still fight, or sorry, I think it was a week ago when the Islanders played them. There was still fight in them, and you can maybe see Vancouver putting on there. I don't see that same fight in them. So, but guys, I got to bring this one up because I forgot to mention him, and really, you got to talk about him. But you look at defenseman scoring since the Four Nations break. That's February 22nd. Cale Makar has 22 points, and Lane Hutson has 21. Lane Hutson has wrapped up the Calder Trophy. Anthony,
he has 57 assists. He's gonna finish the season with over 60 assists. This is a round for me. I mean, for a 21-year-old defenseman to accumulate 60 assists in a season, and you don't play with like a Nathan McKinnon either. I mean, don't get me wrong, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki are great players, but they're nowhere near that level. The fact that he could put that amount of points up on that team to me is incredible. He skates. I mean, his skating and how he could just pivot at the line and just make guys kind of look silly there. He's unbelievable. I think he's sure you could say like his defensive game isn't the best, and that goes for a lot of these high profile offensive defensemen like even Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. But I think he's great. I think he's only going to get better. I think his brother too, which Washington has the rights to. Cole Hutson plays a similar game to him. So that bloodline certainly produces good hockey players. But yeah, as for Lane Hutson, I mean, what he's doing this year is unbelievable. It's a round for me. It's easy.
Phil?
I'm going to say beer. I think that Matvei Michkov's numbers have been very impressive, considering the team around him. I don't think this is a wrap. Will Hutson win it? There's a very good chance he will. But I don't think he's wrapped up anything as of right now. I really don't. And Celebrini's playing great two-way hockey, even younger than he is, on a team that's far worse than the team that Lane Hutson's playing on. I think Celebrini would kill to have that level of talent around him that's on Montreal. So I'm not saying Hutson isn't impressive. He is. The other thing that works in Hutson's favor is I'm pretty sure that he's the first 60-point rookie defenseman since Nicholas Lidstrom in 1992. So that, so that's going to – and he may be the first 60 assist rookie defenseman, I think, ever, if he does crack that mark. I don't think there's ever been a defenseman as a rookie that's had 60 assists in their rookie season. So that's really impressive. But wrapped up, just because the words wrapped up imply that he's like running away with everything, I don't think he's really running away with everything. Do I think he will win it? Probably. I just don't think he's running away with it or has it wrapped up, quote unquote. So I'm going to go beer.
Yeah. I think about the Chappelle Show and just say, yo, wrap it up, B, because he is definitely I think he's definitely the choice right now. I think we were doing different takes on how you doing, Joey? We're doing different takes earlier in the year on whether or not who was our midseason rookie of the year. I think you had Macklin. I think I had Macklin, or I stayed with Bitchkoff. I think Anthony was.
I think Anthony had Hutson.
Anthony, I'm on your boat now, especially with Dustin Wolf and the Calgary Flames looking like they dropped out of the playoffs. And it might be, Phil, that might be a similar situation to 2006, where you might see three guys finish ahead of a goaltender. Like you could nominate Dustin Wolf for the Vezina Trophy, but not for the Calder. Like he might not make that because you might have three rookies ahead of him. I still think he'd be in my three though. But you gotta love the way he's played and the fact that he's on the Canadiens and they're making the playoffs. I think that's over. And as you just said, Phil, 60 assists. Yeah, I think he's got this all wrapped up. All right, guys. Thanks for bearing with us in Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Any other news headlines you guys could think of?
I could do something Rangers related. I could pull it up right now from my Twitter. Something that I posted, I think it was Monday night. An interesting quote from Darren Dreger. If you really want to go,
yeah, what was that quote?
So yeah, let me just pull it up real quick.
Because Anthony, you gotta go get Ellen in about 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna have much longer. My laptop's gonna die, and I got stuff I gotta do. But
well, also, it'd be good to see everybody you're visiting down in Florida.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, all right. Yeah. So Darren Dreger was on a podcast. It was a Flames Nation, I think it was. And this is verbatim. I'll type this out verbatim what he said on there. If anyone's following me on Twitter, I posted this on the 31st at 11:58 p.m. So the commentary from Dreger begins at the 3-minute and 20-second mark. It's only like a 5-minute clip, but it begins at the 3-minute and 20-second mark. And he says, I mean, for me, New York Rangers are the only team right now that makes sense. Talking about John Tortorella, by the way. And the reason why I feel like that is no disrespect to Peter Laviolette. It's because James Dolan, the owner, loves John Tortorella, and he made sure he emphasized that word. And that owner has a ton of clout. let's see what happens. If they miss the playoffs in New York, all bets are off. I mean, maybe Chris Drury has some vote of confidence that he's coming back as GM, but I can't be sure of that. I don't know that to be certain. What I do know is that, again, you have a very hands-on, volatile owner who's not going to sit back and go, no, okay, status quo works. I'm comfortable with the way things are. And to boot, he does like John Tortorella. So that would be a scenario that does make some sense. And given the fact that this team is still a largely veteran-based team, it might make some sense from Tort's perspective as well. One thing I want to comment on before I hand it over to you guys there is that the words is still a largely veteran-based team. That might not be as much of the case of, do reunions ever work? Yeah, we know Mark. That's why he's literally face palming and shaking his head right now. But yes, it's literally a team that could be overhauled this offseason. And it could look a lot different. And maybe they don't need the disciplinarian because they cut the cancers out. Maybe guys like Zibanejad, Kreider, and Panarin are all gone. Panarin wanted to go to New York. He wanted to come to the Rangers. Let's make no mistakes about that. He wanted to come to the Rangers, and him turning down money from the Islanders, extra money from the Islanders, shows that. So we can confirm that he wanted to be here. He said his wife wanted to be here too. So, Kreider, Zibanejad, maybe they go to Panarin. Maybe, I don't know whoever the GM is at this point. I do think it's probably going to be Chris Drury because he's probably going to be given another chance. Whether or not he deserves that is another story. But he might get that chance, and Drury might go to Panarin and say, hey, you know what? They're not going to resign you after this next year. And we're going to look to go in a different direction. And does he agree to waive at that point? I mean, it's I'm not saying it's guaranteed or a lock or anything like that, because I can see your face, Mark. I know where you're going with that face. Mm-hmm. But
I'm going to let Anthony talk first.
It's just a possibility. I'll tell you that right now. But I'll send it over to Anthony and let Anthony take the floor here.
I have 2 minutes left, but Torts was totally, he's a polarizing figure. He's outspoken. I think, with a more veteran group, I think he'd be a good fit. My only thing is that, which Rich is saying, I thought I remember saying this too when he first got to Philly. I thought somewhere along the way he had made a comment about this possibly being his last run before he hangs him up. So I don't know if that's changed or if that's accurate, but I just wonder if he wants to step away now. If not, and he does want to coach again, would he come back to New York? He had success there. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be open to it. It just really comes down to what Dolan wants to decide to do. If the Rangers miss the playoffs, is Laviolette definitely gone? Is Chris Drury going to be allowed to be the one that makes that decision? There's a lot of balls in the air there, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Torts back to the Rangers. I know, Mark, I think clearly hates the idea of it, though. You could see from the minute that there you go. Yeah.
Anthony, and again, if you looked at the Big Apple Hockey Twitter on this, I made this comment. Look, I love John Tortorella. Looking back on him, great coach, great time with the New York Rangers. He brought them really from being in a borderline 8 seed to a non-playoff team to a first in the conference team. He's won playoff series with them. He won 3 of them. And you like a guy that holds his players accountable. But his time has come and passed. It's gone. Alain Vigneault was the reaction to Tortorella. And then Gerard Gallant was the reaction to David Quinn. Phil, you're right. The Rangers need to get younger. First and foremost, the Rangers need to get younger. And you say this is mostly a veteran team. This team should not be a veteran team by the end of next year. And that's sort of why I was against, by the end of starting next year, I should say. That's why I was sort of against the JT Miller trade. I've warmed up to it since. And yeah, you could just say reunions don't work. But in the case of Tortorella going back to the Rangers, no. No, you need a guy that's going to come in, coach up the kids, and develop them and get them to be better. Now, Torts can be that coach. We've seen the good results in Tampa Bay where he coached up that core to be great players. You see guys like Travis Konechny who really, you could say that maybe Vigneault had a hand in that one. But then you see what he's doing with Michkov or even Chris Kreider in the past and always said, look, you need to go through the process. Torts is very big on going through the process and telling somebody to go sit if he thinks they need to sit. So they're not getting maybe a little too arrogant or anything like that. This guy cares, and he does care about his players. We know about the behind the scenes fights and stuff like that. But Philk, I gotta go with that. It's not the right time for Torts, and don't just get him because he's John Tortorella. Bring him back and think that's all going to work. If Mike Keenan came back to the New York Rangers, he wouldn't be as good of a coach as he was, and he wasn't. He's a little bit overblown by Ranger fan standards because, as we talked about before, they sort of rallied that locker room against Mike Keenan at one point. No, they don't need John Tortorella. Just thank you for your time. I enjoyed it. I look back on it fondly. Please do not make me relive any of this.
Yeah, I see where Dreger's coming from, and it's just spitballing with Dreger, but that's just his opinion on things. I just don't think it's the right fit and the right time. If they go veteran and they just rehaul and they bring in other veterans, then maybe, like I said, like it was John Delapina that actually brought it up. I was corrected on our last stream, but it was John Delapina that brought it up and said that the Rangers deserved Mike Keenan after that 92-93 season. They deserved it. And if any of these guys are still back, like outside of like your Millers and Coolies and stuff like that, like if the Zibanejads and the Kreiders are back here next year, then they deserve that type of coach. That's what they deserve. They deserve the disciplinarian who's not going to take their shit, who's going to call them out. The entitlement from this core has been obnoxious. And that's why I'm saying, those guys need to go. But if they're somehow back, which would be a big mistake, then they deserve a coach like this.
I see the name Bruce Boudreau coming through. That would be the only retread I would consider. However,
Sullivan.
But Bruce Boudreau, he's like the Marty Schottenheimer of hockey.
Offense, no defense.
Yeah,
He'll get you. He'll get everything out of everyone offensively, but he can not get teams to play defense.
And Phil, I'm sorry. There was one other one that came through just now in the comments because Rich was bringing up the possibility of Mark Messier being No. And again,
zero experience. I know that there was an article that somebody on Twitter brought up from like 12 years ago saying that, or 11 years ago, whatever it was, saying that he would love to have Messier in, or Messier said that he would coach and was waiting for an invite. Messier has not done anything in 21 years of being retired to get himself prepared for this type of position. And not as a general manager either. He has done nothing within any organization that anyone knows about. He's not been listed in any positions. He's not any type of assistant general manager, anything like that. There is zero reason to believe that Mark Messier is anywhere prepared for any type of coaching or executive role. So let's
just say he's far away from where Brian Trottier was.
Yeah, and Brian Trottier at least was an assistant coach with Colorado for years.
And he won a Stanley Cup.
Yep. So,
as a coach. But the idea, the idea.
Yeah, we're not highlighting that
We're
comment.
not highlighting that one.
No, we're not.
No, that was a good laugh. But the idea that Mark Messier would be an assistant coach. Mark Messier wants to be a celebrity. That's what Mark Messier wants to be. And
He's happy with his studio gig,
with his job, and he's good at it. So I wouldn't want him leaving that either. I don't know. No, it wasn't that. We still can't. We're still not going to highlight that. It's still funny, by the way. But it's just the Rangers, Philk, have done the inside the box idea for so long. Start thinking outside the box. Start looking at David Carl.
It's got to change. So
start looking at Carl. Try to get him out of Denver. And
David Carl, Mike Sullivan would be, if we're going retreads, Mike Sullivan would be right at the top of my list. I mean, that guy's a proven winner. So,
yeah. I mean,
talk about him with Crosby and Malkin and having all those guys at their primes when he won his 2 Stanley Cups. Take a look at what he's done to try to keep that franchise afloat afterwards with the rosters he's had because of poor general managing from Jim Rutherford and Kyle Dubas making terrible moves, bringing in Erik Karlsson, bringing in all these other guys, forgetting the defense, signing Tristan Jarry to that awful deal. I mean, listen, I get why people would be detractors on Sullivan. But for me, Sullivan's last few years have built his case up for me. And Cooper's not moving. Don't even think about John Cooper moving.
Yeah.
No.
Also, because Julian I'm keeping him forever.
He loves it here. He's beloved in the community here. You would not believe how beloved this guy is in the community here. You really wouldn't. Tell you right now, you wouldn't. Because I remember being down here in 2003 and 2004, and I couldn't find a place to watch Tampa Bay Lightning hockey back then. Tampa Bay Lightning hockey is ingrained in this community now down here. And I'm 45 minutes from Tampa, and there's still advertisements. I was in Dunedin yesterday, and yes, Cooper is a Hofstra guy. Joey, yep.
Yeah, we both highlighted that.
Yeah, he's a Hofstra guy, so.
For all I know, he was at Hofstra when I was there.
That's even crazier. Oh my God.
That might be crazy. I'd have to look up when he was there. I think there might be an age gap a little bit more of that with me and John Cooper.
But that would they're ingrained into this community now down here. It's you're seeing advertisements all over the place for them. There was like some sort of medical office. I don't know if it was a primary care practice or a dentist's office or something like that. They had a video signboard for their building, and on the thing it said "Go Bolts." As we were driving back home from Dunedin yesterday, and I was just like, "Whoa!" I was like, "This is crazy." And I said it to my cousin. And I was like, "She moved down here in 2006, so 2 years after they won." But I told her, I was like, "It was very different back then." But now it's a game changer. They're involved in everything. And, they have multiple roller rinks in the area that were built up or refurbished by the Lightning and their organization. So they've really taken a liking to Tampa Bay Lightning hockey down here.
Yeah, and it's funny because, Phil, they kind of had that for a while. Like, Tampa was the real Florida team that, like, was getting interest even until their Stanley Cup. Then it kind of dipped a little bit, and then maybe one of Cooper's assistants move one of them and offer the
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, learning from a guy like John Cooper is invaluable experience as an assistant. So maybe it helps, but sometimes the proteges don't always work out as well as the guys that they learned under. Look at like Todd Reardon and Lane Lambert and so on. Those guys were under great coaches and Barry Trotz. Colin Campbell, another one, was under Keenan. And he didn't work out.
Honestly, I can't believe, and by the way, I give him all the credit in the world, Phil. I'm going to throw this name out there for a minute. Maybe you look at Dave Haxtell.
I mean, I like what he did with Seattle, but he couldn't sustain it for more than a year.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they were another team. They were a PDO team. A lot of guys that were having high shooting percentages years, like Jared McCann had that 40-goal year, and Vince Dunn having a 65-point season. And a lot of their guys regressed, and he just couldn't. Listen, I've been a fan of Dave Haxtell since his North Dakota days. I follow North Dakota. So I do like Dave Haxtell. I hope Dave Haxtell gets another chance somewhere. But I tend to wonder about him. He did a nice job with Philly, and he did a good job with Seattle to get Seattle to the playoffs. And then they beat the defending Stanley Cup champions.
The first time an expansion team ever beat the defending Stanley Cup champions in their playoff debut.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but yes, yeah, that's it. So for me, it's Haxtell is a guy that I want to see him have success, but I don't know if he's the right fit for this team. Would I be willing to explore? I would take him over some of the other names that were probably out there, but I don't know. Jay Pandolfo would be an interesting one. He was a smart player.
I gotta say, that's not the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
No, it's not.
If you want to talk about a player that would come out and be a great head coach, or at least a good coach in the league, saying Jay Pandolfo's name with the experience of winning Stanley Cups in New Jersey. He was, sorry, everybody. Anyway, the experience of winning Stanley Cups in New Jersey, the experience of being the captain at Boston University through national championships, and the tragedy because he was on that team, that he was the captain of that team. Travis Roy got injured on. So
yeah,
dealing with adversity with that, if I would still want to see him get experience, being an assistant head coach first, and then learning the ropes. But by the way, just to mention, when people talk about Mark Messier and that he immediately command respect in the room, you telling me Mike Pekka doesn't command respect in the room? Phil Housley, the first American to get to 1,000 points, that doesn't get respect in the room. Peter Laviolette, the winningest coach of all time with a Stanley Cup ring on his finger, and he took three of them to the three different teams to the Stanley Cup finals, and he almost got a fourth team there. He doesn't demand respect. Problem is the players, guys. Problem is the players. And as Joey said right here, Watt commands respect. Phil, we'll move on from this. We'll go to Willie's question right here. Over under Perreault's points in these 8 games.
Yeah, this will probably be the last one for me because my laptop's about to die. So
no problem. I might do a quick buck doku with you guys. And get in there. And Nick's right. They need to get younger.
I would say if he has 4 points, it's a success. I'm going to say like 3, realistically, what he probably gets. But who knows? Maybe he catches fire. Maybe he has good chemistry with these guys, and he ends up getting a bunch of points. I mean, a point tonight would go a long way. But, I mean, and more than respect, it's accountability. I agree. But, excuse me. Yes, definitely interesting question to ask. I think 3 points, 3-4 points I'd be happy with. I mean, I just want to see him play well. It's not about the points for me right now. I just want to see him play well.
My question is, if let's say he has a bad shift, given the circumstances that Peter Laviolette's under, does that bury him in ice time?
That's a good question to ask.
Because
he's under the gun right now. And then again, I mean, some of his interviews lately, just it feels like he knows he's not going to be back. So
it also feels like he's thrown his hands up in the air and said, "Yeah,
and just screw it," you know.
Yeah.
I am going to hop out. I've got some other things we've got to do today. Thank you all for joining us. Mark's going to be on for a little bit. I don't know how long, but
yeah, we're just going to do a quick puck doku, guys, and we'll move on from there.
But everybody else, enjoy your weeks. Enjoy the game tonight, and hopefully Gabe plays well.
All right. Let's see that. Enjoy Florida, Phil.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.
All right. And guys, I'm gonna go over there, get solo on that one. Yeah, Phil's gonna be enjoying the sun, as he's saying right there. But I think that's it. Rich is saying right here. I hope he isn't on a short leash. Well, what if he has a bad turnover and Johnny Brzezicki is the right wing the next game? That's where we're looking at. I mean, it's where it's something that it sounds like it's more of a Gerard Gallant type of thing that he does, because he did that, and so did David Quinn. Coaches are trained to win games, but in the case of what was disappointing about some of these guys, David Quinn was supposed to be thinking long term, not just one game at a time. And yeah, as one thing, you think Lavi's gone in the offseason, or they give him one more year. Here's the thing. I think the exit interviews are not going to be good for anyone involved. I don't think it's going to be good for Drury. I don't think it's going to be good for the players. I don't think it's going to be good for the coach. I think the players would like to have Laviolette back, but does that matter? I mean, this is going to be the fourth time, because once they do it, guys, I've said it for a while, they're now making the playoffs. And I think I had it since the Columbus game that just, it's that good. And by the way, well, the exit interview for you, David, would be good. You yourself, but getting your fan input, that would not be that great. But as Snapper's saying right here, Lavi stops will be getting shorter and shorter. And yeah, and as forgive the pronunciation, Maki, hope I got it right. Yeah, the Buffalo game. The Buffalo game was rock bottom for me. And that was also unbelievable that Igor Shesterkin landed 5 goals in the first period. Just doesn't happen, and that shouldn't happen ever. But I also think, as Mike's saying right here, I don't think Lavi gives a crap one way or another about his job with this team. No, I think he cares. It's just, I think he did everything he could. This season spiraled out of control. This will be the 4th time a President's Trophy winning team will fail to make the playoffs. And the first time was even worse. That was the New York Rangers in 92-93 that finished in last place. Anybody that's old enough to remember the last place Rangers chants that were in there. Yeah, the jerseys off that back ceremony should be interesting if they miss the playoffs. Yeah. And it's funny when they do stuff like this, because after all, I think about the Mets of 2008 had the farewell to Shea Stadium, and it literally was the farewell to Shea Stadium. I don't think they thought they were going to lose that game, and they did. And it was absolutely brutal watching the collapse of the Mets, and that Shea Stadium ended in such a humiliating manner. This would be along those same lines. And look, I can tell you, Adam Fox would be one of those guys that'll come back a little bit more determined next year. Possibly Chris Kreider. I don't know what to expect out of Mika Zibanejad mentally anymore. I just don't. And oh no, that wasn't the Tom Glavine game. That was I believe Oliver Perez pitched that game. Dontrell Willis getting hit in the back by Tom Glavine, and the 5-run first inning. It was 3-0 by the time I woke up to turn it on, and I turned it on 10 minutes late. That was 2007. And then Tom Glavine said there's worse things in life. 2008 was Beltran tying the game, 2-run homer. And then Dan Uggla's go-ahead home run, Wes Helms right after that. and they went back to back. I think it was the 8th inning, and really just killed the Mets. I think that was when Ryan Braun won the MVP that year as well. As by the way, everybody, thanks for bearing with me on the voice, with my voice, but I'm kind of out of it as far as like water right now. So it's not going to get any better. Anyway, so yeah, it's really been almost 20 years. It's been 17 since the Shea Stadium closed. So how about that? And yes, the real Yankee Stadium in that same year. There was many a time many thought that that you couldn't beat Igor in a 7-game series. And look, Rick, remember versus the New Jersey Devils, 931 save percentage, sub 2 goals against. Still lost the series. And even at that, some of those games, you looked over and went, really? He got lit up in a couple of those games. So, like game 5. But that team quit. And there's too much quit on the Rangers. There's still too much quit. And it's in the core. And the resiliency you saw with the game, in that team last year, that's gone. That's gone. And everybody wants to complain about how Jacob Trouba was handled or whatever. Yes, Nick, you're right about it right here. They're mentally soft. Sorry, guys. And look, I actually, Chris Kreider shouldn't be checked out, but he is. Rangers would have been better off tanking for Higgins. That is from my control room compadre, Mr. Anthony LaRocco. Let's leave that one up for a second. The Rangers would have been better off tanking for Higgins. Why? Because they would have made him the 4th line center and been like, well, you got to earn your ice time. The Rangers need a new philosophy in a lot of ways. And first things first, change around your development coaches, change around your development strategy. It starts with the GM, then going down to the development coaches, as I just said, but the head coach has to have that philosophy too. This isn't going to be a turnaround next year. The Rangers are going to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup, much like the last time they went and missed the playoffs after winning the President's Trophy. No, this is going to be a team that, yeah, no grit in NY. And this is a team that's going to need at least 2 years, if not 3, to turn around. They have some youth, but and here's a bit of news. Anthony's been told that Big Lou is going to trade up for Higgins if the Islanders have the first pick in the 7-8 range. First off, yes, that's a no-brainer. They should be doing that. And if the Islanders could get down a little bit further, maybe they move up in the draft lottery. They really can. They really can go get Higgins. And look, if he's available, you go get him. I just wrote your marketing for next season. Cole Yzerman, potentially. He might take another year of college. Cole Yzerman and James Higgins. The future is here. Long Island boy coming home. And the Richie trio. Honestly, we're going to be talking about this more when the summer comes. But this is where every Islander fan should be pumped up about this. This team is going to look a lot different and sooner. And I don't know if it would involve Noah Dobson to trade up that far. Because right now the Islanders are 10th, I think. So we'll see about that. Again, well, also, by the way, think about this. A lot of people didn't like the way Kyle Opozo was coming along. The Islanders pulled him out of college and brought him up, and he hit the ground running. So they're not catching the true bottom feeders, but one thing that does help is I think, well, we talked about the lottery situation, but I think if you're going to ask me for a conspiracy theory, Nashville wins the lottery this year. I just have that feeling. All right. Let's go through a couple questions, a couple more questions, or let's see if you guys feel like doing a quick Buck Doku. All right. Buffalo ruin their chances to get their wagon status. Guys, let's do a quick Buck Doku right now. It's a little bit harder for me because I got to do this by myself. With you guys. Oh, I got Anthony back. Oh, if it's Puck Doku, you come back in.
Yeah.
All right. For those listening on the audio podcast, for the top row, you have Buffalo, LA Kings, New York Islanders. And for the y-axis, you have Tampa Bay, San Jose, and you got to name a defenseman. Anthony, start us off. What square do you want?
Tampa Bay, LA.
Tampa Bay, LA. What are you going with?
Constant Crossman.
Constant Crossman. Anthony always guesses him. Yes, you guys got singing from a guy with a bad voice right now. All right. Islanders, San Jose. If I'm correct, Sean Donovan played for the New York Islanders, correct?
Say that again?
Sean Donovan.
No, he never played for the Islanders.
Played for the Islanders? I thought.
Yeah.
There was definitely one guy I thought San Jose, like original guy, like Jeff Friesen, maybe, is a San Jose guy.
Are you talking what San Jose Buffalo?
No, San Jose Islanders I was looking at.
San Jose Islanders? I mean, there's a lot. You can go you can go Andy Sutton. You could do Why? Andy Sutton's gonna be a blow.
Andy Sutton's a good one. I'm just trying to think of somebody else.
What? What's wrong with Andy Sutton?
There's nothing wrong with Andy Sutton.
So, there's no need to think of anybody else. Andy Sutton fits perfectly there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who the hell I was thinking of on the other one, Anthony. All right. So Andy Sutton. All right. Still at 0.8. Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, being that you got your constant Crossman, it wouldn't be complete without a Daily Didick. So Islanders defenseman down there at the bottom, you do Gerald Didick.
Gerald Didick. There we go. There's your Daily Didick.
Yep.
All right. Islanders at Tampa. Don't want to do Rolison. I think people would no. Too many people remember Sean Bergenheim, right?
Nah, yeah. Probably. I mean, you could go like a Bob Beers. You could do.
Could I do Wendell Clark?
What?
Wendell Clark?
No, he would be much more known than Bob Beers.
All right, let's go with Bob Beers then.
1%.
1%, Anthony.
That's quite ridiculous that Bob Beers is a 1%er.
That is actually quite ridiculous. I was thinking about another guy just now. What Darren Quint went through my mind. Could have used him. He played 5 games for the New York Islanders as a defenseman.
Yes, he did.
And then wouldn't Didick have been for did Didick ever go through Tampa?
No, Didick never played for Tampa.
All right, Kings and San Jose Sharks.
Hubie McDonough. Just type in Hubie first.
Yeah, we'll go with Hubie. Anthony, I can't see the comments, so please, if somebody has some good ones, throw it in there. Hubie McDonough. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. For a defenseman, let's go with Tom Laidlaw.
You love Tom Laidlaw.
Yeah, well, Tom Laidlaw was the first ever Canadian on Survivor, and he played with both Gretzky and on the New York Rangers, and went to the conference finals, or the Wales conference finals with them. They lost to a rookie, Patrick Waugh. All right. Tampa Bay and Buffalo.
Adam Creighton.
Yeah, because he'd probably be better than Doug Huda, right? Not Doug Huda. Darren Pupa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corey Conacher, Snapper's saying that's actually a good one.
That's a good one. Corey Conacher, I think, would have worked well for Islanders Tampa.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would have forgotten that one. All right. Name a Buffalo defenseman.
Tom Curvers.
Yeah, we'll go with Tom Curvers. I was going to say Jay McKee. I always liked Jay McKee. 0.1%. Although he couldn't use Tom Curvers in San Jose.
No, he didn't play for San Jose.
Okay, so now San Jose, Buffalo. That's not Christian Ehrhoff. I think Bill Holder is in that category, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, Bill Holder, I think so.
Bill Holder, San Jose, and Buffalo Sabres. All right. We'll go with Bill Holder. Boom. And our only mistake was Bob Beers.
Yeah, which
Surprising, Anthony.
I'm surprised Bob Beers was a 1%er.
Yeah. How is he a 1%er? Benoit Hogue, friend of ours, who we all know. He's in the 0.8%. Mark Parrish, I forget he was over there. When did Brad Lukowicz play for the Islanders?
Like the 05 area, a year around there, 05, 06.
Buddy of mine who was friend with Bruno Gervais.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I don't even recall Matthew. Oh, wait.
Matthew Baron, yep. Jamie Heward.
Yeah. I mean, I know Matthew Braun is a guy that they traded to get. I think he was traded in the Luongo deal, right?
Matthew Baron?
Oh, no, he was traded in the Parrish deal.
Matthew Baron, they got from LA in the Ola Jokinen trade. That was the Palfi trade. That's how they got Matthew Baron.
Right, but then they traded him away, I thought, in the Florida deal.
Oh, I don't remember when they, yeah, I think that's right.
And I just got a nice message from my mother-in-law, so that's very nice. I'll have to get back to her in a second. Anthony, let's go. Let's do a pyramid.
Sure.
All right. Bottom level, you have the Boston Bruins, 20 plus assists in the season. That could be for any team. 50 plus penalty minutes, any team in a season. Stanley Cup winner, Florida Panther. And then what is that? Is that the
Quebec Major Junior Hockey League?
All right. So because I couldn't actually make out what the logo was. Anthony, start off Boston Bruin.
Bob Beers.
All right. Bob Beers it is.
They're leading us to Brad Marchand, by the way, if you can't tell.
Yes. I was wondering who they were going to go with.
He played in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
But there definitely should be another avenue to go on there. I think I might be able to have at least one other answer when it gets to the second to last one.
So Bruins 20 assists in any season.
Played for the Bruins, 20 assists this season. Did
Ed Westfall?
You know what? Let's go with Ed Westfall. We might need to hold on to Jason Allison for a little bit. Ed Westfall was still at uniqueness rating. All right. 50 plus penalty minutes in a season.
50 plus penalty minutes in a season. Did Bruin? I think I got one. Mike
for any team.
Mike. No, actually, he did not have 50 penalty minutes in a season. I was going to say Mike Motto. Mike Motto.
All right. I was going to go Dmitry Kristich.
No, don't do Motto. He didn't have 50 penalty minutes in a season.
Right. But Dmitry Kristich does. He had 73 with the Capitals.
Okay.
So we'll go with that one. That Dmitry Kristich was one of the rare times that 2 leading scorers of each team were traded for each other. Him and Joseph Stumple.
Yeah.
Okay, so a Boston Bruin that fits all that and a Stanley Cup winner.
Did Mike Milbury win a cup with the Bruins?
Short answer would be no. The Bruins had a long drought.
Oh, so then, yeah, no. Then
However, Mike Milbury, he doesn't have to win a cup with the Bruins. He can win.
Yes,
a cup.
he does. Stanley Cup winner.
Right, but does it has to be the Bruins?
Well, no, but Mike Milbury didn't win a cup with any other team.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I know that. Obviously, Ray Bork.
What about Dennis Seidenberg?
All right, Dennis Seidenberg has a Stanley Cup. He has a 20 assist season. He never got to 50 penalty minutes.
He never had 50 penalty minutes in a season?
Never had 50 penalty minutes in a season.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah. Do you know who might? I think he might be known, but I just want to make sure. Glenn Wesley. Glenn Wesley would have. He's got over 50. He's got 69 in his first season, and he had 20 assists, and he played for the Bruins, and he won a Stanley Cup in his with the
Snappers saying Thomas Cabriolet.
Let's check Thomas Cabriolet before we.
I'm checking him right now. He has a cup with the Bruins. He certainly has a 20 assist season, and he no, he did not have a 50 penalty minute season.
All right, I think Glenn Wesley is your answer. He could have won the Stanley Cup with the Bruins, but he hit the crossbar in Game 1 versus the Edmonton Oilers. So he's a Stanley Cup winner. Anthony, I know 2 choices for this one. Obviously, Brad Marchand. We were just talking about it. I have Jaromir Jagr. I think we're missing somebody. Cup winner to play for the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins. 20 assists in a season.
20 assists in a season.
Former Florida Panther. Because I have Jaromir Jagr as another one.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Well, that's our backup. There's somebody else.
No, the definitely Ray Whitney. No, he never played for Boston. Damn it.
Willie Mitchell. Let's check him.
I don't think Willie Mitchell played for Boston. No.
I think never did. How about Brian Ralston? But I don't think he played for Florida.
No,
he never made the Florida.
All right. What about Gregory Campbell? Played for the Bruins, won a cup, played for Florida.
Greg Campbell had 20 assists in a season.
I don't know. I'm asking, but I know he certainly meets the penalty minutes, and I was sure he certainly.
Anthony, this is a bit of a tease. He had a 19 assist season.
Oh,
bollocks.
I think I figured out who we're missing.
Who?
Nathan Horton.
Nathan Horton's a good one.
Played for the Bruins, won a cup, played for Florida. Certainly has 20 assist season. Has 50 penalty minutes.
All right, let's check that. I think you got it right. It's Nathan Horton. Nathan Horton, cup winner, played for Florida, Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the gold.
Stephen Weiss never won a cup, right?
No,
Yeah.
no. Nathan Thornton, where'd he play? Hold on.
What do you mean, where did he play? He played.
No, I mean Quebec Major Junior.
No, you got to save that from Marchand.
Yes, but if you flip it, if that would be the case, let me just check one thing real quick.
No, Nathan Horton played in the OHL.
Yeah, he played for the Oshawa Generals.
What about Dominic Moore? He played for Florida, played for Boston. He had a 20 assist season.
Never won a Stanley Cup.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Do Horton. Use
Horton it is. All right. So Horton, here's uniqueness 17. And now Brad Marchand. All right. So we have 17 right there. Let's look at these stats real quick.
Yeah, just Marchand.
At the top. All right. There was Yager. He was number one. He was used. Nick Boynton.
Oh, Nick Boynton.
That was a little bit more torturous. In the bottom answers, Mark Savard would have been a good one right there. Brian Leach. Should have thought about Brian Leach. Eddie Shore, old-time hockey. Piss on old-time hockey. That's where Brian Ralston would have fit, by the way.
Yeah.
Stanley Cup champ, Mike Knuble. Wow, there's a lot of guys in the 0%. Yeah. We were lucky with what we got. And obviously, those other ones, you get to see them all there. So, there we go. Should have went with that one. Nick Boynton was a defenseman on Boston, Arizona,
yeah,
and Florida. Yeah. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the show right there. We're going to get this posted for the audio people tonight. Tonight, the New York Rangers take on the Minnesota Wild, and it'll be interesting to see Jean-Gabriel Pageau's first game.
You realize you just said Jean-Gabriel Pageau?
Didn't I? No, you know what? Have different names. Gabriel Perreault.
But this time was even better because the prior times you said Gabriel Pageau. This time you actually said Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
Oh my goodness, guys! I'm just gonna say it's the antibiotics that's doing this to me right now.
What is it about the name that makes you think Pageau?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because I've been saying Gabriel for years. Now I have to say I gotta get back to saying Gabe Perreault. That's what I have to do. Turn him down to Gabe Perreault. That way I don't think JGP. and then that's it.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
That's how you know that these are unrehearsed. Is that I gotta get all this. And it really undermines the amount of work I put in to getting all this going. So
we could say Anthony, please give me some hope that we'll be able to draft Higgins. Look, surprisingly enough, Craig Button from TSN had Higgins ranked as 6th. Actually, I don't see him dropping further. I don't see him honestly going further than 5th. But honestly, if the Islanders can, let's say, land the finished 7th with the 7th best pick, now you're just talking maybe only moving up 3 picks. So the Islanders have the 7th pick, and maybe Higgins is still there after 3. It's not out of the realm of possibility they could trade up 3 picks by using their 2026 first, or maybe a player like Dobson, although I think that would be a little much to trade Dobson to move up just 3 spots. But it's possible. It is possible. I think because at this point I think Matthew Schaefer, the defenseman, is going 1st overall, and then Misa from OHL, I think he's going to go 2. From there it depends. I could, and yes, exactly. Misa also at 2. After that, Higgins can go anywhere from I would say 3, 4, 5 the absolute latest. So, yeah, if the Islanders end up with picks 6, 7, 8, then it's a possibility they could trade up for him.
I think he's going to be within reach of them being able to get there. And I think they are going to make the move for him.
Especially, yeah, he grew up an Islander fan, which is rare. A lot of the guys from Long Island were Ranger fans, so that's just the truth. He's actually an Islanders fan. He's a difference maker. I think Lou will try to trade up and get him.
I have a friend of mine whose kids being recruited by the U.S. National Development guys. I forgot what the rest of the program, I guess, would have been the answer. But I ask him all the time. I'm like, could you imagine just hearing, your son is drafted by the New York Rangers? And he kind of laughs. And the truth is, he'll go wherever he's drafted.
Yeah, it's anybody.
Yeah,
anybody will go wherever they're drafted, unless your name was Eric Lindros. But no, I mean, honestly, yeah, the Islanders drafting James Higgins, it would obviously be a Ranger fan nightmare. But if they got Higgins, you're talking Yzerman, Ritchie, Higgins, Lou transformed the future outlook of the team in basically one calendar year. So just keep that in mind. If that happens, for all the people that want Lou gone, Ritchie, Higgins, Yzerman, that is a fantastic trio of forwards to have the team be competitive for the next 10 years, especially when you still have guys like Horvat and Barzell around too. So but again, that's just if obviously there's no guarantee. They need to at least finish somewhere within the realm where they could trade up to get them. But that would be huge for them going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And if they could connect those dots that much, and don't forget, they still got Danny Nelson.
Yeah, that's another piece too. Yep.
And guest of the show, Alex Jeffries. They could always give him a shot as well. I mean, the Islanders could get younger pretty quickly.
Yeah,
because they still have some assets that are there, and Lou's done a decent job of at least flipping all that. We'll see about what they're going to do. I'm interested in where Higgins goes. I think if he's available, the Islanders should go definitely.
Oh yeah, but the thing is though, I still think he might go 3. I think after Schaefer and Misa, I think depending on who's drafting, I think he might go. I think he might go 3, especially if right now, if the season ended today, Nashville had the 3rd pick. Nashville's best forward is Filip Forsberg. He's going to be 31. You're telling me Barry Trotz wouldn't draft James Higgins? Like, I don't know.
Like right now, NHL Lottery Simulator would put the Islanders drafting 10th.
That's where they are right now.
That's where they are right now.
Yeah.
We could reset, do it again. The Islanders still drafting 10th. Reset, do it again.
Yeah.
Islanders are still drafting 10th.
Yeah.
Do it again. I'm trying to get them where they're not drafted 10th, Anthony.
Well, again, and that's why if they could lose a couple more games and have some of these teams, because right now they're tied with Anaheim for 9th. So I think Pittsburgh is only 3 points from them. So if they lose a couple more games, and like I said, drop to maybe 7th, then I think you're cooking with some gas here in terms of a realistic trade up.
Yeah. And realistically speaking, by the way, right now the Rangers are drafting 12th. That is still protected. They would then have the option of sending it to Pittsburgh or not. And this simulation I just ran, the Boston Bruins ended up getting the number 1 overall pick. But for the New York Islanders, I mean, I could realistically see them getting down to with Buffalo keeps playing. Buffalo's going to get themselves up to 10 by themselves. I can see the Islanders realistically getting into the 7 range.
And I think that's where you need to be to trade up for Higgins. I think you need to finish. You need to be around 7.
Well, if you get a team like, say, San Jose, let's say the current one that's run, Seattle's drafting first, Nashville is second, and San Jose is third. I think Seattle would pass on Higgins, and I think so would San Jose. I don't think Chicago does. I think they would want a running mate with Connor Bedard. Boston wouldn't. Philadelphia wouldn't. Buffalo, maybe. Pittsburgh wouldn't. Anaheim wouldn't. And then the Islanders.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. He's not. I don't think he's falling any further than 4. To be honest with you, that's just my take. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, the other thing I think is that play here, and I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying I think the offer is going to be there. But I think Lou is going to back up the Brinks truck to Mitch Marner on July 1st at noon. I think he's going to offer a ton of money to Mitch Marner. He has the relationship with him from Toronto. He signed Mitch Marner's entry-level deal. Relationships matter to some extent. And, Mitch Marner is basically like an uncle to Matt Martin's kids. I know Matt Martin's contract expires at the end of the year and he's probably going to retire, but that doesn't mean that Martin would still not sell Marner on the perks of playing on Long Island. So I think, again, I'm not saying this happens. He may. I don't think he's staying in Toronto. I'll say that. I think he could sign anywhere else, but I think Lou is going to have that conversation with him and his agent, and he's going to offer him a lot of money.
Yeah. I wonder what Marner is thinking right now, especially after hearing that he was asked about the Rantanen trade.
Said no. Yeah.
Yeah, he said no. And it's definitely going to be something to look at.
Well, he's played his whole career in the shadow of Austin Matthews, maybe even Tavares a little bit. I think maybe he doesn't want to be the guy. Maybe he wants – maybe he wants to be the guy. Maybe he wants to go somewhere where he is the top guy. Obviously, on Long Island, that would be the case. He would be the top guy on Long Island. He'd be the top guy on Utah. I mean, he'd be a top guy in a lot of places, but maybe he wants to prove that he's still a phenomenal player without Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares.
I think a smaller market would help him.
Yeah, I mean it's
a non-hockey microscope market.
Yeah. I think I'm. What do you think he's leaving Toronto? I think he's leaving Toronto. I
put it at 50-50, if not 60-40, that he leaves.
Because if you keep Marner, they're once again bringing back the band. How many times are they going to do that?
Well, first, does Toronto want him back? That's a question. The short answer is yes, they would, but they want him at less than what the price is. I would figure that. The second question, I guess, would be, does he want to be there? And again, you could say he's from that area and all that stuff, but I don't know. Never mind the Maple Leafs bringing the same band back, Anthony. I think we got to look at this and go, does he want to go and be the same band back there again? Because even John and Paul McCartney went off and did their own things.
Cool, because the other equation that too is that they're saying that they want to bring Tavares wants to go back to Toronto. So if you keep Marner, and even if you sign Tavares at a lesser cap hit, you're again bringing back the same group that fails year after year. So
yeah.
I don't understand how that would work for Toronto or why they would even do that.
It's one thing to have just blind loyalty. It's just, this is why you gotta ask some of these questions, and why whenever I say this is going to be the last games Chris Kreider wears a New York Rangers jersey, and some fans will turn to me and say, hey, well, why can't the guy stay and do X, Y, and Z? Because when you're the guy and you are the trusted upon person, now you're being kind of backburnered. That gets you mentally. But David, no, you won't be making $11 million.
I know, and that's his counterpoint to saying they're bringing back the same, and that's true. even if they bring both of them back, Tavares is at a much less cap hit. And you're right, that allows them to allocate cap dollars more. But you also have to look at it this way: Tavares isn't going to be making $11 million, yeah, but Marner is going to be making more than what he's making. So Tavares may go down to $7 million from 11, but Marner is going to certainly go up from his what does he make, like 10.94, or Marner's cap hit somewhere around there?
I thought he was 11.
So
I'll get that up real quick.
He's going to go from making close to 11 to 13, so maybe even 14. So he's going to get a raise. So
10-9.
What? Yeah, I was
10-9.
right. So 10-9. So yeah, I mean they're probably still saving a little bit, but even if you go from Tavares from 11 to 7, but Marner goes from 10-9 to 13, it's I don't know. I think bring them both back, even with Tavares at a lower cap hit, is silly to me. And I hope they do it because it would be funny. But I think that would be a very poor decision to bring, especially if they don't win the cup or if they go out in the first round again. If they do that, that would be hilarious to me.
Well, Anthony, one of those three teams, somebody's going home.
Yeah.
Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto in the first round. One of them's going home. And Craig Berube is going to get them ready for a fight. I do think Toronto might go for the division and get it. With Marchand back in the lineup in Florida, looks a little bit weird in a Florida jersey. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Florida's going to start ramping up. They're only 2 points out of first. Who knows? Maybe they try for the division, knowing how well they played on home ice. Yeah. If you could get Tavares, then you could get a goalie.
I don't think Tavares accepts 5, though. I mean, to go from I think he's still looking at around $7 million.
Yeah. There's a discount, and then there's just craziness.
Yeah.
Tavares would still want to get paid, although this is definitely going to be the last big contract he's going to get. So that could mean Tavares might want to actually look elsewhere.
He's got 35 goals.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He ain't accepting no $5 million for 35 goals and 69 points. He's at over a point per game. He's 69 points in 67 games.
It's kind of funny. I think almost John Tavares is underrated now.
Yeah.
So, because he has improved a lot of other things, but
Mark, how funny would it be if, for whatever reason, Toronto and Tavares doesn't sign an extension and Tavares gets a phone call from Lou at noon on July 1st.
I would love to see that. I would love to see what Islander fans' reactions would be.
Could you imagine?
Actually, that would mend the fence.
Could you?
I would love to see it.
I mean, stranger things have happened, right?
Yes. I mean, after all, who had Matt Martin coming back to the Islanders and being really good for them when he came back in the next 3-4 years. So, yeah, Anthony, there's a lot that's got to play out, and we got so much more. Don't worry, guys. We're going to be covering it. So we're going to wrap this up here today, guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you missed anything, make sure you check us out on YouTube. I will be updating all that in a matter of minutes and getting us ready. Anthony, it's going to be a crunch, but next Thursday is the Islander Ranger game going to be the Islanders spoiling the playoffs for the Rangers?
No, I'm going to say that the Rangers are already maybe not obviously not mathematically out of it, but I think the Rangers are pretty much going to be done already by then.
Wow.
So I just think what you echoed earlier. I just think Montreal, it seems like they're a team of destiny right now. I think they're gonna, based on the way they won last night, do you really see them losing to Boston, Nashville, Philly, or Detroit? I mean, I don't. I
And
know,
again,
and the ironic part about that is I know Philly just beat him like whatever it was like last week, but
they crushed. There was like an offensive
yeah,
outburst.
they're not. I think they're going to run the table on those 4 teams, and if they do that, it's curtains for the Rangers and the Blue Jackets. It really is
3-1 and 3-0-1 are the big problems, Anthony. And the Blue Jackets also have a couple difficult games coming up too.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is to have an opponent who you just didn't think was going to be that great, because I've said this numerous times. The most dangerous batter is the one with the bat in his hand. Don't ever take anyone lightly. So, yeah. So again, any team that's up against you, they could beat you any night.
And honestly, the Blue Jackets got second life with that gift from the referee against the Islander game with that Palmieri goal. Since then, think of how crucial that game was. If they were 8.9 seconds away from getting 0 points, if they would have lost that game, the Blue Jackets would have 70. I think because they're at 70. They're at 75 right now. They'd have 70.
They're at 77.
What?
They have 77 right now.
They have 77. Yeah, they'd be at 75, and they're in a much different spot. They'd honestly almost be in the same spot of the Islanders, pretty much. I mean, with that said, it's a little disheartening. The Islanders folded like a cheap suit after that game. They didn't recover after that.
They
didn't recover.
If they would have beaten Vancouver the next game, and they were up 2-1 in that game.
Yeah.
It looked like they were in control, and then a couple bad goals the other way. That's why. That's where I have the problems on Patrick Waugh. It just doesn't seem like it seems like they're too streaky on every aspect. They're either that they either string together goals or they can't score. They string together wins or they can't, or they can hold third period leads or they don't. It's just it's frustrating, just even on being an observer and watching that. All right, guys. Again, thank you very much. Oh, wait. Do you think Kaprizov resigns in Minnesota?
Well, there was that article a couple of months ago saying that they think he's going to I don't know who was the beat writer for the Wild. Maybe said that he thinks that, he's going to leave or whatever that, but it's still so honestly, I don't know. My guess is that he tests free agency, but I could be wrong. He could, Zeev BM could come up next year. Their standout defenseman from Denver, the high pick, and between him and Faber up there, and they're already having Boldy and some other guys coming. Maybe they really start to be a serious team here, and then he stays. But my guess is that he goes to free agency, but I think that could change.
Here's the thing. They're out of cap hell this year. So they could start doing that. As Anthony said, Zeev coming up. Big factor. But he is like the straw that stirs that drink on that franchise. Bill Guerin is probably going to start as early as July 1st to offer him an extension. And I don't think it's a given that he leaves Minnesota, but we're going to be discussing this more, trying to read more tea leaves. But guys, everybody, thank you very much. Always love your support. Love doing the day shows because it's a little bit more freedom. And it's always great doing that. Minnesota and Utah will be players in the offseason. I agree with you on that one, especially Utah. Because I think Utah is going to be trying to do whatever they can. And we didn't even get to talk about Karl Vejmelka, who has started 18 straight games and has really looked solid. I mean, they should give him $11.5 million. That would be ridiculous, right? Anyway, guys, thank you very much before I make another stupid comment. And we will see you next Wednesday. If not, if news breaks earlier, who knows? We might have another one of these when Ovechkin breaks the record. But thank you very much. Talk to you soon.